Welcome to Ask Colleen, Spiritual Solutions for Life Situations. I'm Colleen St. and I will be the host for this podcast. My aim is to provide you with the guidance and support through life's challenges, spiritual development, change, healing, and growth. Drawing from over 2 decades of experience as a spiritual practitioner, I will share my wisdom and offer answers to the questions that may weigh heavy on your heart and your mind. Remember that you are not alone, you are capable, and the light within you is unstoppable. Hello, and welcome back to Ask Colleen, Spiritual Solutions for Life Situations. I am Colleen St. and I'm thrilled to have you here. So, for my thrivers, soul divers, and change makers, how are you feeling? Have you been feeling the intensities of our energetic shifts? Have you been feeling the exhale from all the density that we've been experiencing the last few months? How are you feeling? So I actually feel a lot lighter than I have in the last few months because, when we're moving out the density to make room for light, it often can feel a little bit, disheartening at times where you just feel like another shift, yay. But in reality, it's all yay. And before we start this episode, we're going to do what we do best. And we're going to pull a guidance card from our Peace Warriors guidance deck, setting the intention for the week ahead and granting. Let me start that again. Asking for the greatest outcome for our highest good from our teams in the light. I can channel, but speaking sometimes often can be challenging. The pages in between create the story you want to read. This is one of my favorite cards of empowerment because this card is invoking us to take responsibility for our life. It's inviting us to be creative, be a co-creator, and be in the flow. Because we go through life lessons. Like, I want you to imagine your soul's book is in front of you, and this volume of your life experience on this skin suit is offering you pages that are filled with words and with different lessons that we're here to grow through. But then there's this enormous amount of free paper, and those are the pages in between. What do we want to fill those pages with? Are we going to fill it with, a repetition of the past events because, that seems a little redundant, right? Like, we already went through those pages. We already grew through those lessons. What do we want to fill this inner binding of the book? What do we want to fill it with? What do we want to create adventures in? What is the hero of your story doing? Because you are the hero of your story. What do you want it to experience? What do you want to feel? What do you want? And that is the question. What do you want? Do you know that? Can you answer that effortlessly? Or do you hesitate and you play it small when your soul wants to live big? So think about that and allow yourself to have free space to fill the pages in between, to actually create, live, and read your legacy of your choice. So we're going to be taking a question from one of our viewers, and I actually know who this person is very well. They are a very talented practicing medium, and she wants to start branching off into the teaching world and to start teaching some mediumship development. But she was having trouble trying to explain to people, how do you hold space for the people who you're giving readings to, who are going through really intense trauma, grief, and loss? So, brilliant question, because often when we're in a session, after you do it for quite some time, you understand the practice of shielding. You understand that you're a conduit of the messages. But I want to kind of strip it back and really either refresh those who are practicing mediums or help enlighten those who are thinking about opening a mediumship practice or branching their spiritual practice to include mediumship, because the veil between worlds right now is very thin. And I have a lot of energy workers and a lot of people even in therapy session, my clients who are therapists will say, like, I can be with my client and then I kind of feel this energy of like their lost father come in and I don't know what to do. Like, so the veil is thin between the realms, and that is because we are raising our vibration. And as we raise our vibration, we're closing in on that gap between communication, feeling, sensing, the impressions of the invisible realm. Because as we learned in the mediumship series, that all of our interactions are soul connections. When we're on the physical plane, the relationship we have between you and I is on a physical level, soul to soul. But when that person crosses, that relationship on the soul to soul level still remains. It's the physical relationship that we're laying to rest. And then it's learning how to reconnect into that soul communication to hear through the density of them being pure light and love and wisdom, and us being in this place of vibrational imbalances. So the question is, how do you hold the space for people who are going through intense grief and loss during the sessions? So I can share with you when I first started the mediumship aspect of my work. So I had been doing the angel work. And then, if you're new to here, I opened my first business to completely just do angel wisdom work. And that was the name of the business, Angel Wisdom. And I loved angels. I wanted to share their wisdom, their knowledge, their wealth, all of it. It was just phenomenal. So then during, some time into sessions, I started feeling like other energies kind of moving in, and I was like, people's loved ones started coming through, and I was like, angels, I did not sign up for this. I was still naive and still very, in a sense, that Catholic fear of keeping those things separate. And, people's loved ones started coming through, and it, really unsettled me and frightened me. So I went through the boot camp with the angels, and they expressed to me that, healing happens in all facets, and that everybody who's coming through those doors is now going to be meeting their teams in the light through the angelic connections and our loved ones that have crossed. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. That's perfect. Right. So I learned it. I practiced it for many, 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 many years. And so I remember my first kind of actual mediumship session, and literally booked as a mediumship session, not just like a guidance session, because it took me almost 6 years to put that I was a medium on my website. I did not advertise. It was definitely word of mouth. So I had this session, and this woman comes in, and it was, quite lovely. Like, she was literally an angel herself. And as I'm going through this, I'm picking up the energy of a old soul, but that it was a child. And, as I'm delivering these messages, she was expressing to me that it was her child that was lost, and that he had passed away by an accident, was hit. And, this is the grief. And I mean, it was raw. And if you've ever heard a person who's lost a child, the cry, it is penetrable to your soul. And it was a vibrational challenge to consistently keep holding space and giving the messages and giving the messages and giving the messages. And she was just lovely and was so grateful for the connection, because the communication was so clear and so pure. So when that session ended, divine timing, I had about an hour in between clients. And I literally dropped to my knees and bawled my eyes out, like ugly crying, bawling my eyes out. And I was like, God, I am not strong enough for this. Like, you totally picked and plucked the wrong person out of line to have the seat that I'm sitting in, because I can't watch a commercial without bawling my eyes out. I can't read things without crying. I'm like, And you now want me to sit in front of someone in their absolute worst nightmare ever and deliver that message. And they said, yes. And I was like, clearly I overachieved as I was a soul and penciled myself in for that. And I was like, then tell me why. And Archangel Michael said, because it is not you that needs to include yourself on her journey. You are an agent of the light. You represent the light, and that means that you are a conduit of messages. You are the messengers. That was your first real experience. You didn't shield your energy. You didn't ground yourself, and you quickly included yourself in her pain. Those three things are how you will end up on your knees every single session. I was like, okay, so what next? So they shared with me the idea that everything is energy. So when people are coming to you, they're not coming to you because they're looking for you to meet them at their grief. They have enough of that in the world around them. They're coming to you so that you can share a message from their loved one to them to help them create peace. Peace is light. Light is information. Darkness is lack of information. So when you are able to sit and hold space for someone else, what you are doing is you are releasing heavy rocks from the backpack of life that they're now carrying. You are taking rocks away. You're taking the weight off their shoulders by sharing that information. If you find that you are including yourself into their situation, I need you to pause and reset yourself, because all you're doing when you're doing that is adding another rock back to their already heavy backpack. They don't need any more heavy energy than they've already had. They don't know how to deal with this because they've never dealt with this before. This is their first time dealing with this experience. And as a parent, it's a club I never want to belong to. But there is a club, and there is a soul contract that happens, that souls on the other side agree to bring in other souls. It's here we create these attachments of energy and, the finality of it. But as Archangel Michael told me, that as we are walking this soul plane, that each of us has a soul contract, and every person in our life and every experience, we are agreeing upon that prior to coming into this plane of existence. So what you can do is that to hold space is allowing someone permission to feel whatever they feel. If they say things that, maybe don't sound nice, like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to live without them. Don't try to shut them down. Let them own what they feel. They have very little control over what they're experiencing. And for you, for that hour and a half, to be able to hold space like that, to be the conduit, to give those messages, and to help raise their vibration. Our job as light workers is to allow people to be where they're at and then create information through messaging that elevates their vibration so that they come from the depths of that grief, raising themselves up to then potentially be able to receive, know, learn, and understand the signs that their loved one that they've lost is trying to give them. And it is a practice. It doesn't mean that I never felt. I was teaching a course once and someone said, "You've never said I'm sorry." Like, I'm not coming at you, Colleen. She said, but I don't understand it because, like, in your private life, like, you're like, I know you privately. So she's like, you're very, very, like, sensitive to things and very compassionate. And I said, every person who sits in and across from me, I have the absolute most respect for them in the world. Number one, to come in and literally be open to the vulnerability. Number two, they're not coming in because they're often having a great day. It's something that is unsettled within them. There has been shift in their peace, and Our job is to help them realign with their light and understand that there is a new normal, and different doesn't mean bad, but to acknowledge that it is a new normal. And then how to navigate in that new normal with ease and grace, and to understand that the myths of guilt and the myths that they may hold on to, that their loved one doesn't want them to experience joy, love, happiness, or to live, that we are to free them from the myths that they hold within them that create the density. And it's a powerful privilege to sit in front of people in the most vulnerable periods of their life. And it truly is something that we must hold sacred as practitioners. It is not a joke, soul-to-soul connections. It is not a party game. It is not a carnival attraction. It is not something to be taken lightly. It is a privilege, and it is an honor. And yeah, it's cool as hell, right? I have learned so much by being on the other side of the door, where people are asking questions and they are moving through things. Like it's my first time too, right? So like, this is my first time in the skin suit. And as clients are asking me questions or spirit is giving advice, I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. I never knew that. Like, I will say the message and then hear it, right? Allowing myself to be the conduit of it. It's powerful, but it's something to be taken as a sacred position and a privilege. It is for you to check in with your own energy and see, where are you vibrating from? If you find yourself getting judgmental, if you find yourself invoking your thoughts and opinions, because not everybody lives in accordance to your law. They're not supposed to, because who knows if my law is the right law, right? We're all here doing the human walk, and we just need to let people do them. And we need to heal our own energy. And that's how we become stronger as a collective. It's amazing because, the number one thing people often say to me, it's like, oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. It is. It truly is a blessing. But also, people have gone through really, really, really challenging lessons in this life. And I can't imagine that I could be any more grateful, because I'm so blessed to have had that front seat for so many years. And that's why I want to share it with everyone, to allow you to understand what the idiosyncrasies are of working, and how it looks and what it looks like. So that if you feel that you have that inner calling within you, or that there's something within you that's calling you to investigate it, I'd be happy to mentor you. But it's more so, I want people to have the information, because, just like in any profession, there is the light and there is the not so light. It's kind of the heaviness of that, right? So we're not judging it, but we want to work in the light. We want to work in that highest vibration, because true mediumship is not just giving the messages. It is about helping them with the tools to healing. What place that they're in. Like, I could tell you, oh, they said this, they said this, they said this, they said this. But how am I adding to their light quota by just telling them? Our job is to give them the tools to heal, give them the information to thrive and grow through this challenging part of their life chart. So if you have any questions about it, you can always leave me a question on my website and the Ask Colleen tab, and I would be thrilled to talk it out and walk it out through with you. So have a blessed week. Take care. Thank you for tuning in and joining Colleen St. on this transformation journey. If you have any questions, insights, or topics that you'd like to engage or ask, please visit www.colleenstmichaels.com under the podcast page of Ask Colleen to submit your question. I look forward to connecting with you next time. Have a beautiful day.